Hello, folks. So, in this video, I want to talk about taking control of your time. So, this is something I've had in my mind like for some time now, especially after I started working remote, especially. So, and like I'm working in my second company as of now, and I've noticed like different kinds of notifications over work or even in my phone, let's say personal notifications and all that. And I've also used a lot of social media from my university till now. So currently I use mostly LinkedIn, I think, and YouTube, which is kind of like social media nowadays. Um, and I've come to realize a few things. I'm not perfect, but yeah, I just come to realize that okay, these are some things that are like not easy. At least I'm just aware as of now those things. So the first thing is that in terms of like taking control of your time, I mean, usually I'm the kind of person who doesn't want to disturb people by say let's say I'm at work and let's say it's already say 9 p.m. At night and it's outside working hours. Ideally, I wouldn't actually do a direct message to someone over work, and this applies to even emails. Like I wouldn't even think about it because I think I've come to that point where I don't even think about texting someone at that wrong point. If I want something, I put it in the public channel, and like if people see it, they respond, or that's it. But I don't do direct messages or emails, especially at that time. The reasoning is that I don't want to disturb someone like outside their working hours. The other thing that I do is if I want to send it, I just send a scheduled message. These days, most applications support this, where you can say, let's say the time is like 9 p.m. now, but I want to send a message, or else I'll forget it. So, but it's convenient for me to send now. I don't have the time to send it later at a time that is convenient for the other person. Then what I can do is I can schedule a message and say, hey, send it tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. sharp or 9:15 or 9:18. Maybe you want to show it as if like you just sent it at that time and not like scheduled send it, but something like that. Or if you want to be clear that you it was a scheduled message, you can put it in your email itself that it's a scheduled message, email or message or whatever it is. So Slack and then Outlook, Gmail, all of these support actually scheduled emails, messages these days. Even SMS apps support these nowadays. For example, Google Messages supports it. And like this is something that I do for others. But in general, let's say people, I mean, sometimes we work across time zones, so it's not easy to actually send messages at a time that's appropriate for the other person. You have to actually understand what's the appropriate time for them and then send or schedule send. And sometimes some people find it hard to actually think in terms of different time zones and convert. They could use apps that help with time zone conversion, but when they're working with like many time zones, it can get confusing, especially when someone is actually moving different time zones over the week or all that, right? Of course, Slack and similar apps provide information on what is the current time of this person, if they set it, of course, and or I think it's automatic. I'm not sure, but yeah, Slack shows that. Um, but what I've come to realize is that like regardless of like whatever I do, it's best if the other person, the receiver, is taking control of their time. Of course, I will also be mindful of their time and not like send emails or messages over weekend, let's say, if not working hours, because sometimes they may be in a different time zone, I may be in a different time zone. I have to think about that time zone and then send a message, and it can be hard, especially when you're sending group emails. When different people are in different time zones, you just have to deal with it. You have a group email ID, you have to send it. You have to send one email with one group email ID. You're just going to have to send it in one like at one time, and that's going to reach at one time, different times for different people if they are in different time zones. Um, or else you just have to send different emails by putting each and every person's email ID and then send it accordingly. Or email applications have to take care of this. But the best thing that I've come to realize is that it's best if everyone takes care of their own time. What does this mean? This means that, I mean, actively try to ensure that, let's say, I am not working now. Actively try to ensure that I don't actually check my work email. I know it's hard because for some people, they use their email, email client or email application in their phones, and they have notifications on, and their work email is also connected in their phone, and they get emails, and they are also, if they are busy people, they are very important people who actually have to read emails, then it's a problem because they have to read it because they are important, and maybe the email is important, and maybe they have to react fast, in which case they will look at the email. That's why the senders have to be more mindful that, more mindful of each other's time in a work environment. But apart from that, the receiver can also be mindful of their own time, of course, and be control of their own time. So what does this mean? Let's say you are going over the weekend, like going into your weekend after Friday, you can remove Slack from your phone, or you can actually, nowadays, like, mobile operating systems actually help with this whole time management, where you can actually say how much time you want to spend on an application. So Android has this thing called digital well-being, where you can say how much time you want to spend max on an application. So for Slack, you can say over the weekend you want to spend 0 minutes, which means you cannot even open the app. It will tell you, hey, do you want to open this app? The timer has gone off on this. You have timed out on this. Then you can increase the timer, of course. And there are also other third-party applications that can help with this. The other thing is that, like, you can also do things like focus mode, where focus mode on Android, for example, this digital well-being on Android helps with you to say that, hey, I'm focusing now on something. I'm focusing on, say, work. I don't want to look at the notifications on my phone, or I don't want to open up some apps. I want to, like, disable some apps for some time. I want to focus. Then you can go into this focus mode and do all that stuff. There's also this thing called, bedtime, or kind of like night mode, wherein your phone turns into some grayscale mode, so that your eyes are not affected too much, and it's also boring to see your phone because it's all black and white. Colors are more attractive usually for people, and so you go into this grayscale mode, let's say after, say, 8 p.m., so that you don't use your phone much, and it's also good so that you can sleep sooner instead of looking at your screen a lot. These are some things that you can do to take control of your time and ensure that you're not looking at notifications, say work notifications or generally notifications in general, right? The thing to be aware of is that everyone has, I mean, everyone is in control. I mean, usually everyone is in control of their time. I mean, it's a privilege, of course, but a lot of times people are in, like, control of their time. They can choose. At times, yeah, there is no choice. Like, you're forced. I hope that's not the case for many, but yeah, like, it sometimes happens. But if you are, I mean, you can think about it. You can think, if you are actually actively and consciously taking control of your time. Let's say you open up social media. Actually, you're not always controlling of your time. Like, social media websites and all these companies know exactly what you like, what you don't like, based on your viewer history, like what you've viewed before in the past, the time you spend on different kinds of posts, the different kinds of posts that you like, share, comment on, and whatnot, and you interact with, what you block, what you don't block, whom you follow, and things like that. So they know very well what you like and what you don't like, and these are all million billion dollar industries, these companies. So they are actively spending time to actually get your attention and time. So they're actually putting a lot of money to actually get your attention. They're actually spending a lot of money to get your attention, so that you spend a lot of time on their application, seeing their advertisements, seeing whatever propaganda they have, like the agenda they have, like to, I don't know, to actively make you think about something, say some political party, or some movie that they want you to see, or some series that they want you to look at, or some stand-up comedy that they want you to look at, or some concert they want you to attend, or like anything. They can manipulate you to think about anything these days. That's the level of control or manipulation that people have, like the companies, all these million billion dollar companies have, because they understand, they actually spend a lot of money on understanding psychology, on understanding people, on understanding their users, profiling their users, and all. Right. So social media companies, you have to be really, really careful, or any internet company in general, where you actually log into their application, or don't even log in but interact with their application. For example, say Twitter, Medium. There's this developer thing called Dev.to. There is DevRand. There's an application called DevRand. There's Facebook. There's LinkedIn. There's Snapchat. There's whatnot, right? There's like Instagram and so many things. WhatsApp, Signal, Telegram, so many things. Every time you use an internet application, say Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, Hotstar, whatever it is, right? Think HBO Max or whatever. Like, think about what's in it for them. Think about the money you spend for them. If you're not spending any money, you're basically probably the product, most probably the product. Because let's say you're using Twitter for free, you get Twitter for free because, I mean, Twitter is hosted for millions of dollars, billions of dollars, with lots of servers, a lot of developers developing Twitter, and all that. But you get Twitter for free. Well, what's in it for them? Well, they do advertisements, they do other things, like, so they get the money from that, right? Mostly advertisements in, yeah. So a lot of these companies, they work with some agenda behind the scenes. They want to run a sustainable business, but you need to understand that you have to try to take control of your time, and you need to understand how powerful these companies are, and like these internet companies are, and try to take control of your time, be actively conscious, be aware. For example, I've noticed myself that whenever I open YouTube app, I actually get into it. I just don't realize that I spend a lot of time on it. There's even this meme where it says, watch one video of duration 4 hours versus watch many videos of the duration of like 40 hours, and it's like mini shots of 40 hours or 4 hours, whatever. It's funny because it's true, because we end up seeing these short videos, a lot of these short videos, and then you suddenly look at the time and it's like a lot of time is already spent on it. The thing that has helped me a lot usually is that being aware, first of all, that I'm spending a lot of time on these apps. And also the other thing is like having control in ways like using these things called digital well-being, where you can say, I want to spend only this much time in the app, and also at the end of the day, reflecting and contemplating on how much time you spend on these apps, using these things called digital well-being. The operating system provides this information. Android and all does provide. I've seen macOS provide this for desktop. So you can see how much time you spent on your device, or how many times you opened up your phone, how many notifications you saw, things like that. How much time you spend on each and every app, and the total time you spend on the phone, on your applications, different applications. So it's scary when you see that you actually spend a lot of time on your phone. Like, you have only 24 hours in a day, and you spend a lot of time, say, sleeping, working, or studying if you're in university, in school, or whatever. And then the remaining time, what do you do? And a lot of times, even for your university, college, like school or work, you use phone, you use your laptop, so you use devices even for other stuff apart from leisure, as in your hobbies or entertainment or whatever. So the thing is to be first aware, actively aware, like a lot of times how much time you spend, and then think about it, and think, okay, so you are basically fighting with and dealing with $1 billion industries like Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hotstar, Disney Plus Hotstar, and like all these movies, stand-up shows and whatnot, who are trying to get your time. Everyone is trying to get your time. They're trying to fight for your time, and it's very, very crazy, right? The amount of money you spend on Netflix, say, on a per month basis, is probably very less compared to the amount of salary you get. And let's say the amount of salary you get is, let's say, $1,000, and you spend, say, $10 on Netflix. I don't know what's the cost in USA, but just assuming, say, $10, and the money you earn is like, say, $1,000. Just an example. So then you basically earn 100x than what you spend for Netflix. But if you go and see the amount of time you spend on Netflix and the amount of time you work, you might be surprised about how much time you spend on Netflix, on weekends, on nights, on whenever you get time, and like you might start realizing that your time, if you think about your time in terms of money, let's say you earn $1,000 per month and you spend so much time on work, you can think about how much money you get per hour at your work based on your salary and how much time you spend working generally. Let's say you spend 8 hours per day and like 40 hours per week and like say 160 hours per month, assuming 4 weeks in a month, generally like on an approximate. Then in 160 hours, if you get $1,000 in 1 hour, how much money you get? And with by spending $10 on Netflix, and how much time do you spend on Netflix for free? As in like you spend only some $10 or whatever dollars, but then the number of hours you spend on Netflix, if you actually were, I mean, I'm just saying that if you were working, you would earn a lot, but or your time's worth is a lot. I mean, I'm just saying in terms of work, but actually your time's worth is a lot. The most valuable thing you have is your time in your life and how you spend your time. At least that's what I believe, and a lot of people believe this. So you are actually going to be, the main stakeholder when it comes to your time. No one else is actually going to be caring so much about your time than you, ideally, because you have skin in the game. When you lose time, you are the one who loses the most. There's no one else probably going to lose a lot than you. So a lot of people, a lot of companies, everyone will try to fight for your time. And like say your friends, your family, your company where you work for, your all these applications that you use, everyone is trying to actually pull you to actually spend time for them. You have to actively take a conscious decision on where you spend your time. Usually, how I think about my time is usually I think about health, and then I think about career work, I think about entertainment, I think about family, friends. So I think about different areas of life where I spend my time. I try to spend my time to some extent consciously, but a lot of times I do end up spending my time like on the go. Like it's more like, hey, this happened to me and I just accepted it. But that's funny, right? I mean, it's like I'm just going with the flow, yes, but I'm not actively driving my life. Some people would want to do that. Some people would want to just go with the life, go with the flow. And like when you go with the flow, the thing is that a lot of people will try to actually pull you in their thing. Like, for example, everyone will try to get your time. Like, people will be like, hey, do me this favor. Hey, help me with this thing. Um, a lot of times there's no like skin in the game for you, like as in consequences. Or let's say people will advise you to do things like, hey, why don't you do this? You have to understand what's in it for you. You have to, every time you take a decision, you have to understand what's in it for you, how much time you spend, what's your stake, what's the skin in the game, and what are the consequences. Like, if someone is actually taking a decision for you, and like, but ideally you have more skin in the game than the other person, then you have to be very, very wary of it, especially in terms of time and effort and whatnot. And when people ask you to spend time with them, you have to be aware that you're spending time with them, and not like I have noticed myself being a people pleaser, wherein like I just go ahead and say yes to almost everything instead of thinking and saying yes or no. I've just told yes to many people just like that because I've been like, hey, I don't have much to do. I didn't plan my weekends. I'm just gonna go ahead and like say yes to this and just do it. But I think what I've come to realize is like I want to actively understand how I plan my day, plan my weekend, plan my life, and like actively say yes or no to things and understand if I really want to do something and spend my time on something because it is my life and I have the most stake on it, most skin in the game than anyone else when it comes to my time. And I am aware that all these million billion dollar industries are trying to get my attention. Um, Like when I spend time watching movies, especially Indian movies, are like 2 hours, 3 hours, I realize that, oh, spend 2.5 hours over here. It's entertainment, yes. In my case, I actually watch a lot of movies. So I have to be very, very mindful of the kind of movies I watch, but I'm usually not. I actually just end up watching the movie like an experiment, like, hey, this movie was not that great, or hey, this movie was great. But I end up watching a lot of movies, so that's a lot of time, and that's basically time spent on something. And if I wanted to spend that time on something else, I wouldn't even think about it because I just went with the flow of watching a movie. And I usually very rarely stop watching movies in between. So I think it's very important to reflect and contemplate and understand what you want to actually do, consciously do, instead of getting in like the flow. Yeah, usually that's what happens. You get in the flow and like you say, hey yes, let's do this. Hey yes, let's do that. Hey yes, let's just watch this nice YouTube video, YouTube shorts. Keep watching it, Instagram Reels or whatever, you stories and whatnot, right? Um, it's easy to get caught up in the black hole of social media, or being a people pleaser wherein you say yes to everyone's requests and like, hey, can you do this for me? Hey, can you come to this party? Hey, can you let's spend the weekend on this thing. I think it's very important to consciously take a decision of, hey, do you want to do this? Does it bring joy to you? Does it is it something that you consider important, or at least do you think that it's worth it to actually experiment it and things like that? Actually, I think it's important to be able to actively take a conscious decision so that you are able to spend your time in a bit more conscious and worthwhile way than getting sucked into other people's ideas of how you should spend your time. Say companies or people, say family, friends, anyone, right? Um, so yeah, when it comes to time, I would say try to be more and more selfish. You can't be selfish enough. Trust me, someone's gonna try to pick on your time. And sometimes it's just a transaction. Like if you're working for a company, it's a transaction. They pay you money for you to spend time on the company's work and whatnot at the company. So that's a transaction. But there are a lot of things where you spend very little, but you spend a lot of time. Like as in, you spend $10 for Netflix, but then you spend a lot of time on Netflix. It's probably good time, or it's probably just like something you just got sucked into and like you just binge watched it, and they ended up sucking up your time without you being very aware of it, right? So I think it's a very important thing to be aware. For example, like I meditate these days, and I do guided meditation, and I have to actively ensure that no one's calling me when I'm doing this meditation, or I'm not getting notifications that actually interfere with the guided meditation by making some noises in between because the notification came up. So I put these earphones and then I do this guided meditation, and I realize that sometimes I get calls, and I can't put it on DND because when I put DND, the guided meditation, the media gets muted. One thing that I've come up with, one idea that I've come up with is that use my laptop's audio and do a guided meditation through YouTube, or put my phone on airplane mode and then do the meditation and then get out of airplane mode once I'm done, and put all the applications on like no notifications or focus mode and things like that. Basically, me taking control of my time instead of letting someone else be like, hey, I want to call Karthya, and me just responding to that and like getting stuck in between my meditation, which I don't want to do. So I think it's a very conscious decision. I think it doesn't make sense to blame people and say like, hey, you're taking up a lot of my time. No, I mean, I usually don't believe so much in blaming people. I usually believe more in like taking responsibility, because that's kind of the reality, as in like no matter how much you blame and whatnot, it's also you who is part of the equation. Let's say you're playing Netflix, you're part of the equation. You just paid them and you're using Netflix, you're binge watching some movie. Well, they never forced you. It's not like they said they'll put you in prison if you don't watch them. So you're also choosing to give your time, and they're also very good in understanding psychology, understanding what you like, what you don't like. You just have to fight with a $1 million industry, yeah, and you have to find your best way to fight them and be conscious of your time. Yeah, be it YouTube, be it Instagram, be it WhatsApp, whatever it is. Be it people, anyone, be it work, whatever, family, friends, whatever, right? Colleagues and all. So I think it's a very tricky thing, but once you start contemplating, start reflecting on like, okay, so this is what happened. This is the amount of time I spent on these different things. How much time am I spending on my health? How much time am I spending on, like, say, my own entertainment? How much time am I spending on, say, for other people, helping other people, and like, as in where you have nothing in it for you? And is it something that you want to do? Is it something that you're actively, consciously doing, or is it something that you're getting sucked into? Are you a people pleaser? What kind of person are you? How do you respond in situations? Are you saying no or yes to different things that people ask you to do? When do you say yes? When do you say no? What kind of people intimidate you? What kind of people make you feel guilty by just with their words, but then you don't have to feel guilty? um, I think it's very, very crucial to be aware of how you respond, how you feel, your emotions, how you spend your time based on that and whatnot, and taking conscious decisions based on that. I'll probably do another video on this, but as of now, these are my ideas, like wherein you take decisions about your time, you actively think about your time, and you see where you spend your time. You note down how much time you spend, maybe on different things, to understand where you spend your time. And I mean, I know people who optimize for time. That's a different thing, like where you say, if I'm doing something for half an hour, can I do it in 15 minutes, 10 minutes? Can I get delegated to someone? That's all different kinds of stuff. But where do you even spend your time? That's also pretty important. Apart from optimizing the time you spend on something, like you spend lesser time so that you spend more time on something else. Yeah, but where do you even spend your time? That's also something to be actively conscious about. Like, you have to be conscious about it, and it, so that your life spent is spent based on your decisions and not someone else trying to manipulate you or suggest you to spend your time differently, because it's more beneficial for them. But is it really beneficial for you? Is a question that you have to ask constantly, so that you are not sucked into other people's agenda or other people's idea of how you should live your life or how you should spend your time. Instead, you take that conscious decision of, like, okay, this is how I want to spend my time. This is when I want to spend my time. This is how I want to prioritize my time. I don't want to get sucked into other people's business or whatever. And I don't want to fight with $1 million industries. I won't even use social media, let's say, or I'll be very active about, like, conscious about how much time I spend on it, and things like that. I think the first step is being aware, understanding yourself, which is like the most important thing, and saying yes to something when saying no to something, and being content with it. And also, change is pretty constant, so you keep changing, you keep evolving, so you'll figure out as you go in your life what you want, what you don't want. Things change, people change, but yeah, the only constant is change and evolution, and you'll keep evolving, and I'm sure you'll figure out things. That's all I had for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.